time to shift gears. This is the ManShift Guide.
Welcome back to the ManShift Guide, the podcast for men who have done surviving and are ready to evolve. This show exists because most men were never taught how to process pain, regulate emotions, or understand what actually is driving their behavior beneath the surface. And today's episode is powerful because we're driving into the subconscious mind, the place where habits are formed, the patterns repeat, and identity
Let's
is
get into it.
quietly written. Yes. And we have our friend here who will introduce himself, but he is a hypnotherapist. And I know for me, and thinking about this and thinking like, maybe what is this hypnotherapy thing? And like some people will say that, it's just kind of like hocus pocus or whatever. But I've talked to some people who have done this or who have thought about doing this, and there's some validity to it, like talking to the subconscious and like tapping into those things. And before we get into it, I want to just have you introduce yourself a little bit more and kind of how you became into this hypnotherapy, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thanks, Oren. I'm Scott. I have a company called Scotticus, and I brand myself as a mental mechanic.
Hmm.
Everybody's got something that grinds their gears. I help them figure out how to oil the machine, put fuel in the tank, and start going from A to B a little faster, a little easier. Makes everything a little smoother. Hypnotherapy started calling to me after I found out about hypnosis in a sense of, oh, it's real. Because everybody's seen Hollywood stuff. I remember The Jungle Book from being a kid. I remember much more recently Captain America Winter Soldier. I mean, the mind control stuff is always interesting, but it's all Hollywood. That's not enough to make you believe it's real. But about 12 years ago, I was in my freshman year of college and I was at the University of North Georgia. I was in an ROTC program. It was a very different time in my life. uh, but I was told that there was an event that evening that was going to be mandatory fun, which of course translates to you can either go to the event or you can stay here and do push-ups. So I went, as most people would. Uh, it was a good time, and the guy brought up this volunteer. There were plenty of people on stage. It was a stage show, but one of the volunteers he brought up stands out in my memory because the guy must have been between like 300 and 350 pounds. I mean, this was a great big dude. And when he put the guy under, he fell out of his chair and he hit the ground with enough of a thud that my seat moved in the bleachers.
Wow.
I mean, we're in the gym on the hardwood floor of the basketball court, and it's just boom. I'm like, whoa, oh, ooh, no. Paid actors pratfall. Paid actors know how to take a landing. Stunt people don't fall on their face quite like that.
Mhm.
He really went down like a sack of potatoes. It was wild. So that was the first piece of proof. And then 20 minutes in, he tells him that he's the OBGYN on call. The woman next to him is giving birth, and it's his job to deliver the baby. Go. And it's like, what? But his first words are, nurse, nurse. He's screaming for tools and instruments and implements. It's like, oh my God, he thinks he's going. What in the world is this? We get to the end of the show and he puts everybody back under and he tells them that he doesn't want to deal with anybody being an unhappy customer or embarrassed or angry or whatever. So he's going to not let them remember until they get out the front door. He's leaving and his car's parked out back, but none of them were supposed to remember anything until they got out the front doors. Well, his friends swarm him at half court. They're all excited. Oh my God, that was so funny. That was so great. That was so stupid. That was hilarious. And he doesn't remember any of it. He really, truly, like, he's got a blank look on his face. He looked like he had, like, a mannequin head instead of a regular head. He was just, what do you mean? What are you talking about? What's going on? What happened? When does the show start? Where did the guy go? What are you talking about? I didn't do anything, man. the whole works. I mean, he really forgot.
Mm.
And they get him out the front door, and it's a threshold moment. He's in the gym. What are you talking about? What happened? When does the show start? I didn't do anything, man. He hits the door, and his first words are, "Holy shit, it works! Oh my God, what the fuck?" And I'm just like, huh, okay. So it's real. It can be learned. I have to go learn it. I go home that night and I start studying everything. I'm finding YouTube videos, I'm reading articles, I'm looking at books, I'm finding courses online, everything I can do. I'm just like, I need to figure out what he did and how he did it. And 12 years later, here I am. I have learned all kinds of ins and outs of what the subconscious mind does, how the brain processes thoughts into feelings, into actions and emotions and all the other stuff that we do and all of the stuff that we don't do. It's crazy, but it was a fascinating time, and so it really just caught my interest and attention enough that I was like, yeah, no, I have to go home and start learning this. That's so wild.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a really, really neat experience to see something like that. But like, what would you say would be the difference between like the stage show and doing those things versus kind of like what you do? Because like looking at your website and looking at the things that you do, like you're actually wanting to like help people versus, the stage show is just kind of like they want to entertain.
The biggest difference is simply consent.
Hmm.
Because the reason that people get up on stage is that they are the class clown kind of personality. Like,
Okay.
he asks for volunteers. He makes sure to ask questions in very specific ways, like, who's here to have a good time? Or who's here to be entertained? He's not looking for people that are deeply skeptical. He's not looking for people that are, like, gonna be fighting him about it. If they won't go under easily, then they're not going to be good for the show.
Sure.
I'm looking for people that have a problem or that want a solution or that, they think that this is the way it is and it just has to be that way. And I'm able to start showing them a different path or open their mind to a different possibility where it's like, hey, guess what? Because it was this way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It's not forever, it's not permanent. So, hypnotherapy is about partially the hypnosis and partially the therapy. It's both pieces. It's
Hmm.
about helping through differences in thinking. Whereas a hypno stage show is all about a stage show. It's a show. It's about putting on a show. It's about entertaining the people. As long as those people, here's the real secret. And I mean, I don't I don't poo-poo anybody who does the stage shows. I love that part of the craft. Those are also good hypnotists. The real secret is the people that volunteer for stage shows would probably love to get to do that anyway. And all they're looking for is permission. As long as the people are still applauding, as long as other folks are still laughing, they would still get up and do all of the things, even if they didn't go under.
Hmm.
Because all the hypnotist has to do is give them permission to be ridiculous.
Hmm.
So all I'm doing is giving them permission to say, hey, that problem that you had 10 years ago, you can let go of that. All I'm doing is, taking that thing that they are always dealing with or that they have struggled with for so long and just be like, hey, are you ready to declare victory? You can move on. You won. It's over. Let it go.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Sure. And you kind of think about like, like the things that you're saying of like, overcoming bad habits or whatever it is that they're overcoming with, like, what kind of people would like, at what point were they like, this is not working. I've tried everything on my own and would even consider like hypnotherapy. Because like, I, maybe there's like some things that maybe someone can't like overcome on their own, but like, is there like a particular kind of personality maybe, or like like, because on your thing you talk about like weight loss, or you talk about you getting over a really bad relationship, or overcoming smoking addiction, or any of these normal things that you hear people do that on their own. But what would be the reason for them to want to go down this route?
Usually the key difference is either ease and simplicity because it's just like, hey, if I just need some help, let me see if this works. The skepticism slash curiosity approach, where it's just like, I mean, I don't know if it can hurt, but I'm sure that it could help because they're just open to the idea. It's a possibility, and they're like, sure, I'll try a new thing. Why not? Or it's the people that are well and truly to the point of desperation where they've already tried everything else. If they can't figure out how to do it on their own, or they keep being told that's just the way it is, and they find out that there's any other option, or they're told, well, you just have to man up, you just have to deal with it, you just have to fight through all this other stuff. It's like, yeah, man, I'm tired. I've been 6 rounds at this and I can't win. I keep losing. All this other stuff. When they get tired of tasting the canvas, they get up and they say, "Okay, who's in my corner? I need some help. Who's
Sure.
gonna give me any kind of assistance?" And I help do that. I
Sure.
I have the hypnotherapy aspect, I have NLP built into that, and I also do like success and life coaching or some amount of like business consulting where it's like, hey, what's not working? Why is it not working? Have you looked at any of these other things that are underlying issues? Because if you think, well, that's just the way it is. Sure, that is the way that it is, but that doesn't mean that that's the way that it always was, and that also doesn't mean that that's the way it always will be. Language has an impact on our lives and it can be mutable. So
Mhm.
if we decide, hey, this is the way it is today, sure. Is it going to be that way tomorrow? Or do you want to change it? All of a sudden, doors start to open. People's ideas start to come to a deeper, sharper focus where it's like, oh, things can be different, can't they? Huh.
It kind of makes me also wonder because, like, you hear what they say, like, like you tell your like the subconscious brain cannot um make a difference between what's true and false. And I would
That's true.
assume, and I would assume that after if you, and they say, like, if you say you're going to fail at something, you're going to fail. Or if you say you're going to be good at something, you're going to be good at it. But it's not like one of those things where it's like you're going to magically tell yourself, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden everything works. Like, this kind of feels like it's kind of like the opening the door of, as you said, to start making that transition into something that you want to do. And it kind of sounds like maybe the type of people who want to do this would be like they've so internalized a certain way of thinking or a certain way that they just can't change that on their own. Like they've told themselves like this is who they are so many times and so many times and then and then you go to normal counseling and therapy and they talk about like affirmations and like things like that and like well the affirmations aren't necessarily working. You can't override you know, saying affirmations every day for a year for like however long you've been telling yourself the opposite of what those affirmations are. So, I could see how that would be something that could be beneficial to some people. And I guess without giving away the tricks of the trade, um,
We don't have
'cause-
time for that, even if I
right.
tried to.
For sure. And you talk about like people who are a little bit harder to get into that Zen type phase that you talk about in on your website and that like the tricks to do that. Like there's a whole bunch of different techniques and things of that nature. But can we kind of like briefly explain what hypnosis is? Um from my understanding, it's kind of like you when you're like an autopilot kind of, right? Like you talk about like you do something every day and then your mind just like phases out and like you don't even remember driving home, but you know that you did it. Um
Yeah.
like so I kind of like understand what that's like, but not like fully.
So if we were to explain it as thinking about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind being the part of your body or the part of your mind or the part of your brain that is doing the thinking, there are times when your conscious mind is thinking about things. We're talking about whatever we're doing, or we're stressing about something, or everybody has those shower thoughts where it's like, oh, everything is suddenly clear and brilliant, and I'm able to come up with that insult for that person that was rude to me that was 10 years ago or whatever. You're having those shower conversations to yourself because it's time in the shower. but you're also on the unconscious level or on the subconscious level, you're still in the shower. You're doing all of the things that need to be done in the shower. That doesn't require any thinking, that doesn't require any processing power. So it's just kind of running in the background. The hypnotherapy aspect is more or less to take the processing power and shift it from what's actively happening right then in the moment to instead be thinking about bigger ideas or higher level concepts or greater things, taking a broader, more zoomed out approach for a moment to look at something else instead of being locked in on this is what I'm doing, this is what's going on, this is what has to happen, all this other stuff. If I'm thinking about my day, if I'm thinking about my schedule, if I'm looking at what's going to happen in the next 2 hours, that's different in the state of mind than, oh, let me picture a field or, I remember that thing from 20 years ago, all this other stuff. It's just kind of that broader, more open minded aspect of like, huh, yeah, that daydream state of mind, that's the hypnotic state. It's the same thing. If you've ever just kind of stared out and zoned out and just been thinking about nothing for a while, that's what it is. And then
Interesting.
hypnosis adds in the element of having somebody there to help you get there and then to direct you a little bit or to help give you some guidance. What you were talking about before about people feeling really set in their ways, I like to sometimes make the analogy of a dirt road because the more times you go over it, if you're going the same road, the same route, the same way every single day, it's going to start to wear down some ruts. And if you don't ever turn off from that or make any other choices or change decisions or change lanes, then yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to get out of it when you start feeling stuck. But
Sure.
that's because you've worn down the tracks to be this is the road. It's the only way that you go.
So when you do get somebody into that state, what would be something that you would like tell them? Like, what is the process like? For instance, okay, so let's use the cigarette smoking thing. Like, they want to quit smoking, but they don't see how to do that. Like, what are you like giving them suggestions once they're in that state of mind, or like how
Yeah.
does that work?
Yeah, it's always suggestions. People get to choose what they keep and what they don't. That's the other part of it that's always important to remind people about. It's not like Hollywood, it's not mind control. It's all suggestions, and they can keep them or throw them away at their own decision. But one of the suggestions that I gave to one of the clients that I had recently, they were a smoker. They had been a smoker since their teens. They had wanted to get rid of it. They had wanted to quit, a couple of other things, yada, yada, yada. At one point, in what they were telling me when I was doing the interview, they said it's always been a crutch that was good for taking care of my mental health, a fun little way to escape. And in the session, I then made the suggestion, you're a healthy person. Your legs work fine. You don't need a crutch. You can put that down. You can let it go. And all of a sudden, it's that understanding of just, oh, language can be really literal in our brains. If we think we need a crutch, or if we think, well, that's just always the way it is, then yeah, it feels more and more like it becomes concrete. It becomes real. But the moment that somebody brings it up and really asks the right question or turns it just the right way to look at it from a different perspective, all of a sudden, she didn't feel like she needed cigarettes anymore. She didn't need a crutch. She's well. Rise, walk. What do you need a crutch for? You're fine. And it was so easy to put it down.
So, and and you talk about at that moment that person all of a sudden decided that they, didn't need it. But I would assume that it's not always that way. Like, it might take a couple of sessions, would you say, for some people to kind of have this solidify?
So far, it has taken one session and then every now and again, like a 15-minute tune up
Hmm.
later on. I'll check in on people at 1 week and then again at 1 month and just make sure how's it going? How are things? Do you feel better? All this other stuff. So far, only one person has needed the tune up part so much where it was like, oh no, I'm really struggling with it. Because a lot of times people have really incredible results if they're expecting really incredible results.
Huh.
Now, if people are told, well, this will take 3 or 4 sessions, then it'll take 3 or 4 sessions. That's part of the thing, too. The subconscious mind will allow it to believe, well, if you tell me this is going to take 8 weeks, then it'll take 8 weeks. If you tell me this will take 8 minutes, it'll take 8 minutes. That's part of this weird time will expand to as much as we give it kind of thing where our subconscious, if we tell it, hey, it's going to be done in 15 minutes, that's it, we're ready, set, go, then our brain can really lock in on that and say, okay, 15 minutes, that's how long. Boom. And there are people that I work with multiple times, but it's usually for multiple different issues. Like if somebody has a weight loss thing and that's the thing that they really want, then part of that also usually is tied to things like confidence or self-image or what they desire about that. Like, why do they feel like they want to lose the weight? Is it for health reasons? Is it for relationship reasons? Is it something else entirely? Those other parts and pieces can be separate sessions because it's hard to fix everything all at once. But if we lock in on what the right thing is, then it's kind of like a tree. If we're able to reach down low and cut into where the roots are, it takes care of a lot of other stuff all at the same time. Whereas if we're only chopping off a limb, there are still other things that are growing and continuing. And if those are not good, we want to get rid of them. But if those are good, then we want to keep them. It's all about figuring out how to cut the right thing in the right place.
Sure. And I really appreciate these I would have to say for me, like I'm not necessarily skeptical. Like I would say like this could really help somebody and I wouldn't like knock that person for wanting to try this out. And like there are many paths to get to a same result. And this is just one of those paths that will help somebody get to like a result that they would want to go to. And you kind of talk about Hollywood and you talk about like so like I would have to say that I'm a little bit of like, I like the paranormally type side of things and people talk about like past live regression and all these other kinds of stuff and like this isn't that. I mean, I'm sure someone might want to go to you and maybe do those kinds of things. I don't know if that's another side of hypnotherapy that you do or don't do. But
That
that's
is
something.
another side of hypnotherapy that is not usually one that I do. I'm not
Sure.
opposed to it. I'm open to the ideas and possibilities of past life and future, locking in all this other stuff, but I'm also just kind of like, I don't know, man. You're dealing with what you're dealing with here today, right now. Maybe it's something that was from 5 lifetimes ago. Maybe it's just that's the way that your brain has decided to process that. But
Awesome.
there's also just the here and now. That's what we work on and deal with.
Awesome. So that again, like that was something that I didn't know about. Like I kind of thought that like other than it being all kind of one and the same, but you've clearly stated that, like the stage show is one thing, and then this is what you do, and then there's all different kinds, I'm supposing, then with
Oh,
this. So
yeah.
that's really, really
Yeah.
interesting. Um, and now let's kind of get a little bit into you also talk about how you are like a health coach, not a health coach, but like a life coach and public speaker as well. And so how does like the life coach part get involved with this as well?
I tell people that I have two products. I have bad thing go away, and I have good thing how get.
Hmm.
And that's it. I explain it like a caveman because I look like one. So, uh, if it's bad thing go away, then it's usually hypnotherapy. It's usually like a specific singular item. This is, hey, this problem has been hounding me. Please help me get rid of it. And that's easy. It's usually like one session, do the hypnosis, here we go, get rid of it, and it's
Okay.
gone. if it's good thing how get, that's usually more complicated and that leans more into the coaching side of stuff where I'm like, okay, this could be something that can be done with hypnosis, but it also can be something that is an ongoing, continuing relational thing where it's like, hey, let's work together for a couple of months and see what we get. Hey, let's work on this for a year and process all of these different problems as they come up and help you get geared in and get off of this dirt road where you've run this rut and start laying track to somewhere else so that you can get on a better path. I love to make the analogy that the train of thought is more literal than we think. It's actually a train. It's actually really a train. And our subconscious has a great locomotive. It will go like crazy if you give it any amount of fuel. The problem is we have to be careful to be conscious about deciding which tracks we're going down. If we want to get to New York, we better be heading north. If we want to get to San Francisco, we better be heading west. Things like this are very specific. And if you're not picking a destination, then the locomotive is just going to keep going. And it doesn't care if there's a wall or if there's track or if there's a ravine and no bridge. It doesn't know. It's just going. So steering is conscious. The motivation is subconscious.
So that's really, really interesting. So it's kind of like you get rid of the thing. I like the analogy that you said. You bad thing go away, good thing come in, and it's two different things happening there.
That's it. There are two products.
Yeah. So really, it's just kind of like replacing the bad thing once it's gone, and then kind of building the person back up. Would you say?
There's
Depending on
that,
what it is.
or there's the version of it where it's just, okay, I don't know how to get the dream.
Mm.
I love the I love the image I came up with at some point, and I think I stole it from a friend. It was someday I'll. ISLE, someday I'll. But it was also I apostrophe LL because it's someday I'll have $1 million. Someday I'll buy that big house. Someday I'll drive a Ferrari. Someday I'll have the girl, whatever. And someday I'll is way off in the middle of nowhere. There's no way to get there. Someday doesn't show up on a calendar, my friend. Is it going to be Sunday or Monday or Tuesday? When? Tell me when and I'll believe you. Until then, as long as you're saying someday I'll, no, no, you won't. You won't get there. There is no railroad to someday I'll. You gotta get more specific. So I help people with nailing down those kinds of things where it's like, hey, if you actually want to get that goal, how are you going to get there? What do you need to do between here and there? What does that look like? And get more and more specific. And the hypnotherapy part of that kicks in with understanding that you can make it more real in their own mind if they can picture it more clearly. So goals set for 1 year from now. A lot of people have resolutions, and we're recording this in January. I don't know when it gets released exactly, but we're recording early January. People have resolutions and they have these goals and these big dreams, and they have all of this possibility of a whole year ahead of them, and they keep thinking about what it looks like, and it's a little bit of a vague picture because it's just this warm, fuzzy feeling. I can help tune up the picture itself like I'm adjusting cable or making the satellite TV work better, and all of a sudden they feel more intensely the thing that they wanted. It
Mm.
goes from being just a goal or a dream where it's kind of nebulous and maybe it'll happen or maybe it won't, to being more specific and locking in and saying, oh, it's going to look exactly like this, and it's going to be on this day, and it's going to be at this time, and I'm going to be with these people, and it's going to be all of this other stuff. It all comes together, and it makes it so much clearer, so
Mm.
that then the train of thought has both destination and time and all of these other things to know the exact route of that's how we get there.
And unfortunately for us here, like we're running out of time, and I feel like just like how you have a two parts, like two services, this might ended up having to be a two-part episode here because like I really want to dive into like the
I
motivational
love it.
aspect of it.
I
So
love it. Let's.
if you are willing to come back in the future, and hopefully very soon because I would love to dive into this because like I feel like and even I've seen this in my own life where I just like I have these big goals and these dreams and stuff, but I lack the direction or the know-how. And maybe it's not necessarily feeling like I lack the know-how, but I might have it, but like just for whatever reason being too afraid of attaining the goal or whatever reasons it is that we don't have to get in there. But I would love to dive into that a little bit more deeply. And
You want some
before
help with that?
we can talk about it, maybe we can. And in the meantime, where can we find you? How can we contact you?
The best place to go to start with is the website Scotticus. That's SCOTTICVS.com. Scotticus.com/FAQ. That tells people the same basic story that I just told earlier about how I got into this, and it starts answering people's questions that I have been asked enough times that I'm like, okay, I know this is going to come up. Here, start there. And then you can look around at the services or the homepage or whatever else. But
Sure.
that's the best place to begin because that really tells people where to find me, what I'm doing. There is also a Scoticus hypnotherapy Facebook page, which I am having help with. So, Scoticus hypnotherapy and integrative coaching.
Mm,
There it is.
okay. Well, there it is. And I will be sure to, as always, drop the links in the description so they can have or you can have an easy way to find Scott and his brand of hypnotherapy and also his brand of coaching. And until next time, this has been the ManShift Guide, and I wish you the best of luck this week. And I hope to see you on the next one.